Hello everyone. Been a hot minute, to say the least. If you're watching this, you're probably an existing subscriber of mine. I mean, I can't imagine too many new people are gonna be naturally drawn towards this big yellow thing aggressively pointing at them in the thumbnail, but hey, you never know. By the way, that's Steve under there. Look. Shit. Now, if you are an existing subscriber, then you might be wondering why I'm framing all of this monetary stuff as some exciting new development. I mean, I've had a Patreon page for years now. Look, here it is referenced at the end of every single video I've published for the last 2+ years. Well, as previously promised, I've given the whole thing quite a bit of a refresh. Got a whole new set of rewards and some pretty neat exclusives to tell you all about. I'm essentially relaunching my major support pillar and, you know, thought I should consider doing that whole advertising thing I hear is quite instrumental to business venture success. I want to immediately preface this before we get into any of the details by making clear that this isn't an obligation. Your support isn't mandatory. This isn't some do-or-die moment for my content. The very fate of the Niknok channel isn't hanging in the balance of you specifically giving me a couple quid every month. I have a strong passion for making these videos. I get a real joy out of the whole process. It's my little corner of the internet where I get to delve into so many of the things I personally find interesting, and get to explore them in often quite unique and exciting ways. I know my less than frequent upload schedule doesn't necessarily reflect that enthusiasm, but please know that I spend almost every single day working on this channel in one way or another. These videos are very intensive labours of love, with a lot of thought and care put into them, and I really hope that shines through in spite of the frequency. I just have so much fun doing all of this, and believe you me, I do not plan on stopping anytime soon. Regardless of any backing I may or may not receive, it is my full intention to keep pumping out videos as best I can. That said, you know, I am human. I do need to eat and drink and pay bills and, like, need money. I won't pretend I'm not in somewhat of a precarious spot regarding all of that stuff at the moment. While ends are being met, they're only just being met, so you know, some extra income certainly wouldn't go amiss. It's like, while I can safely promise that more videos will be made, the process of making them is at risk of taking considerably longer, somehow making that fucking schedule even more infrequent. Now, that all said, you know, I'm not blind. I am well aware that a majority of the Western world is facing some form of economic crisis right now. While any support would be beyond appreciated, I, of course, encourage you to prioritize your own financial affairs before you even consider donating to the wacky Egg Dragoon guy. I just figured I should be upfront about my situation when asking online strangers for money, you know? I'm not, like, at risk of homelessness any moment now, but my options are quite limited. This particular option here happens to be one I quite enjoy, and some stability surrounding it would go quite a long way. Anyway, that's my pitch, that's my plight, that's enough mining for sympathy points. What I'd really like to do now is redirect my focus, look in the opposite direction, and just take a moment to celebrate everyone watching this. As I said up front, if you bothered clicking on this video in the first place, then I have to imagine you've been a fan of mine for a little while now, and you're the people that I really want to thank in all of this. Monetary stability aside, my top priority with this channel has always been to foster an earnest, respectful, analytical little community that actively engages with whatever subject matter I'm covering, and so far that's been working like a treat. I've gotten some lovely comments on my most recent Shadow Generations video, and am very aware of all the consistent faces that pop up across every new upload. A couple of you have even made contact over on on Twitter, and it has been nothing but a pleasant experience. I'm very thankful, to put it simply. If you're not in a good position to donate, or just choose not to for whatever reasons, then no, I take absolutely zero offense. If you leave this video with nothing else, then please know that I am beyond grateful to have accumulated the audience I have already. In fact, to show off some of that gratitude in a more tangible context, I'd like to tease some future projects that I'm currently working on, that are all in various stages of completion. I've kind of completely stopped ever giving any idea of what I might be working on next. What can I say? I value the art of the surprise. But I figure now would be a good time to give a peek behind the curtain, and not only to pay back your generosity as a viewer, but also to give an idea of what you might be funding should you choose to support me financially. So, we have a video discussing a very specific aspect of everyone's favourite movies, and my less than stellar thoughts on that aspect. A video covering the evolution, or devolution as I'll be framing it, of a particular Pixar character. A video discussing a Nintendo game I consider criminally underrated. A video about a Nintendo movie that's long overdue. A retrospective covering one of the most famous internet characters of yesteryear. A review of a franchise I have deeply loved since childhood. A smaller video covering an upcoming collaboration that I'm personally incredibly invested in. And something very exciting related to Sonic Movie 4. And note that this isn't any kind of release order. These videos are all in wildly differing stages of production and could change priority ranking at a moment's notice. This isn't even the full list either. There's plenty more topics not mentioned here that I have plans to discuss, so take everything noted today as nothing more than a handful of videos that I'm tooling away at in the background. Though there was one more project missing from that list that holds quite a lot of significance among my audience. I think it was called something like Front. So, with all of my cards laid out, with all of those disclaimers, well, disclaimed, here's a look into that revamped Patreon. Here are some of the all-new benefits you can look forward to if you do choose to become a financial niknok supporter. Firstly, I'll be offering backers their names listed at the end of every single video. Pretty standard YouTuber Patreon offering, I know, but hey, we're making do with what we've got here. I'll also be hosting Patreon exclusive Q&As every month. Once we reach enough members to justify such a venture, you'll get 2 to 3 days of early access on a majority of videos I make, the only exceptions being the time-sensitive uploads that need to be out there as soon as possible. For example, that Sonic Movie 3 pre-release deep dive was getting dangerously close to the movie's release date. It needed publishing as soon as the project was finished. By contrast, my most recent Shadow Generations video wasn't tied to any big event, and as a result would be the kind of thing patrons get early access to. And finally, I'll be offering backers a new Patreon-exclusive category of video, Niknextras. These are shorter, roughly 10-minute long watches detailing my thoughts on a variety of topics that I wouldn't quite be able to get a full-length main channel video out of. That's not to downplay these Niknextras though, as they offer my usual level of insight. They're about as highly edited. They're essentially just bite-sized versions of the kind of content you already enjoy from me. And as for the topics I'll cover within them, well, that shorter runtime has seriously opened the floodgates. We're talking everything from decades-old movies, to brand new game releases, to general pop culture talking points, just about anything really. Someone previously commented asking if I'd cover Transformers 1 on the channel, and while I don't have enough to say about that movie to warrant an entire video, that's absolutely the kind of topic I'd be happy to cover in an Niknextra. In fact, it's one of several I've got up on Patreon already. You wanna know my thoughts on Mario's new look? Wanna hear my take on Robert Eggers' modern masterpiece? Wanna know where I stand on crossworlds ever since the Great Spongeoning and the $90 nuke? Well, Niknekstra's the place for you. When the announcement first happened, I tweeted out, this will either be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, because, I don't know man, when he first takes that mask off and just stares for a moment, he's got this fucking energy about him. Like, he feels shockingly threatening and quite sinister. The whole movie has this, like, fascinatingly clinical edge to it, I'd say. Almost like it's bordering on being a documentary instead of a movie at some points. But it never quite loses that firm feeling of humanity and soul that is really what makes a film a film. Though that said, the one thing I'm really not a fan of is the new transformations. Gameplay-wise, they look fine, but visually, they are just so aggressively furry. Like, I have seen this exact same shit on fucking DeviantArt. There's currently about an hour and a half's worth of content up on Patreon for you to go check out, with plenty more intended to release as time goes on. Though, on that, fair warning, there's no set schedule for these things. Don't sign up expecting any level of consistency in when I'll release a Niknextra. Niknextras, like all of these Patreon rewards, are simply whatever bonuses I can manage to scramble together that won't detract too much of my time or energy from the main channel videos. You know, the things you guys are all here for in the first place. As such, I don't want to commit to a schedule for these things. I'd rather promise less and deliver more than promise a whole lot that I'm unable to deliver. Though, hey, that's not to imply you should only expect a Niknextra every, 9 months or something. These things are relatively quick to produce, and considering just how many corners of the media landscape I personally have a vested interest in, I'm sure there'll always be something worth talking about. My Patreon will be divided into 3 tiers: Nick Nice, Nick Napic, and Nick Nawsome. Yes, I do enjoy weaving my name into every single title like it's a fucking Rick and Morty episode. And no matter which tier you choose, you'll get access to everything I've already mentioned. I don't want to nickel and dime my offerings like that. If you're paying to support me in any capacity, then you should be given every goodie I'm able to offer. That said, those who'd like to go a bit further will get something for their generosity. Patrons who pick the Nick Napic tier will get their end of video names listed in a much more eye-catching golden font, as well as being given top priority on that list. Anyone kind enough to go all the way up to the Nick Nawsome tier will get their name read out loud by me instead of it just being listed, with a little thank you thrown in there, because I will indeed be thankful. These tiers will be priced at $6, $8, and $10 respectively, with full intention on my end to reduce those prices once we hit enough consistent members. Now, if you don't want to commit to a monthly fee and would rather just give a one-time donation, I do still have a Ko-Fi available. It's not been mentioned yet due to remaining relatively unchanged aside from a couple branding assets, but it is still an option. I did mess around with YouTube memberships, but I couldn't figure out a model that felt right among everything else, so for now I'm keeping it simple. Patreon is my main support outlet, and the one that'll intertwine with my content the most, while Ko-Fi stands as a strong secondary option for those who can't or don't want to commit to continuous fees. Both are valid, both are linked below, and both are incredibly appreciated. I'd like to give a ginormous thank you to anyone who's watched this thing till the end, and anyone that may sign up to the Patreon as a result of it. I'm incredibly open to any suggestions you may have regarding this whole thing, extra ideas you think I could implement, or tweaks to existing systems you'd like to recommend. These rewards are, after all, for all of you. Any way I can further repay your generosity curiosity is absolutely up for consideration. I do want to re-emphasize one more time that this isn't some make or break moment for the channel. Your presence here alone is already helping me out immensely. This is not an obligation. I just figured it was worth taking a moment to state my case and ask around. You know, if you've got the cash to spare, then there are worse places to spend it. And of course that's said with absolutely zero bias on my end. As for what's coming up next right here on the main channel, well, you've already gotten a good idea of several projects I'm working away at in the background, but as for the very next upload that you can expect, the very next video that should be dropping on this channel, well, sometime this century. Well, if I recall correctly, I did previously promise some form of coverage for a very particular movie. I think I specified that I'd finally get around to it after a couple of months had passed from its release. Say, how long has it been since Sonic Movie 3 dropped again? Oh my god, it's been the better part of a year. That's actually way longer than I intended to leave this. Whoops. Fuck. I've got a video to make. Bye.
I guess there's only one thing left to say.
Skip it up and da